a lot of community members here. Thank you, Madison, Hero, Ihsan, Sergey, Isaac, Pranjal, and some guests from Morocco. Welcome, man. I'm going to speak. Hey, Shashank. This is our founder and CEO. I added him as a speaker and co-host. Hi, Shashank. Can you hear me correctly? Okay, without further ado, welcome to another edition of our weekly Twitter Spaces. We have a special guest, the co-founder of Sentient, and yeah, let's get this space started, I think. Do you guys, can you hear me? I see that your mics are...
I can hear you. Hi, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us today. I'm especially, and I'm sure the community as well, is especially curious to learn about agents that actually follow the commands. And would you mind please starting by introducing yourself to some of the community members that are not familiar with you and Sentient?
Yeah, perfect. So, hi, everyone. My name is Himanshu Tyagi. I'm one of the co-founder of Sentient. Sentient is building loyal AI, the AI that is loyal to the community, that builds it, that owns it, that uses it. We are all living in this world of AI where we are building various applications on AI, but all those applications are actually governed by the underlying model, the LLMs which were built with some other objective and which are loyal to the companies that build them. The knowledge is selected by them, their actions are selected by them. So the goal that Sentient has is to give communities the AI which is sort of curated and designed by them so that it remains aligned to their values, their objectives. That's what we are doing. So it's very pertinent to the topic today.
Just to add a bit of context to our listeners, Himanshu is a professor at one of the best universities in India and in the world. And he's one of the most legit builders I've ever seen. And also, he's one of my college seniors, like a super senior. Yeah, pretty great guy. So, Himanshu,
I
I've seen that.
I'll take off super from that two super seniors, but yeah.
Yeah. Himanshu, you guys are building on the model side. What are your comments on the agentic frameworks that we have in crypto right now, mainly AI 16Z and virtuals? I believe they are a good experiment, but what do you think on the model side?
Right. So I don't think they're just a good experiment. They're they are something which always happens in crypto, that they are a very crypto native product, which blew my mind because I had
Yep.
all those ideas, space, and the way they came out is a very specific timing and execution. Beautifully done. But the whole
Hmm.
thing about the agent space is that AI agents, and this I have been saying that again and again, like a broken record now. AI agents themselves do not have agency. They are they are
Hmm.
they are just they are just simple code. The actual agency, the ability to take action on someone else's behalf, the actual agency is with the model itself. So these agents, as they get built and as they get used, and these and beyond, Shashank, maybe you are right in saying that these are fun and good agents, and now they're moving to these use cases which will require some serious engineering. For example, if you allow this agent to hold all this money which it's distributing, but You also allow it to invest on your behalf. As you move to those kind of agents, then you want to be really sure about the the intentions of this agent, and want to make sure that it is not subject to some risk because of random hallucinations of an underlying model, or at least plausible deniability due to random hallucinations of the underlying model. So that's why from day one, when we started, we were expecting this kind of a rich agentic ecosystem sitting on models. And that's why we always felt that the real thing is to control the model. Now, once you control the model, once you have predictability and alignment with the model, when I say control, there are a few parts to it. We can discuss that. Once you have these loyal models, right? We call it loyal models. Then
Mm-hmm.
you can start on it, which extend the loyalty to the AI on it. And this is where techniques related to verification, such as TEE, ZK, MPC, all that come into picture, where you're verifying that you're running the correct model. But to begin
Mm-hmm.
with, you need to have a model. So that's what we are at, and this had to happen, and this only highlights the importance of having loyal models.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm actually a big fan of the speed of execution that these teams have, especially Sean. How quickly he has worked on that product and how quickly he brought it to all the crypto users is I hadn't seen that before in Web3 specifically. So, like, kudos to that, and it's because of that. That everyone around us can see what agents are, can see what they can do, and are really excited by it. So now is the time that we can work on the infrastructure improvements, making sure that the agents work as intended. They have access to the best tools out there. The underlying models are as we expect them to be, loyal, highly performant, and so on. So yeah, I believe it's the best time in Web3 to be working on AI. And coming back to the model side, you said you're working on loyal models. Um, so I believe it's kind of impossible to say that we can create a generative AI model that doesn't have hallucinations. So when you talk of loyalty, does it refer to lack of hallucinations, or does it refer to uh, s- inability of some outside authority to mess with the model?
Yeah, excellent question. So there are three parts to loyalty that we are after. First, so this
Mm-hmm,
is loyalty to the community. Okay, the community which is using the model, building the model, and owning the model. A loyal model is aligned with community's interest. That's the first important property. What do I mean by that? We are already looking at use cases where these models will be used to run DAOs and those kind of things, right? Of course, the reason to
mm-hmm.
have a DAO is to handle subjective decision making, because if it was all objective, that you could have just put it on a contract, right?
Yep.
So subjective decisions are determined by all the opinions that you hold, all the knowledge that you hold, and you vote on those. But the model knowledge, the model's value system, or whatever views, are actually not in control of the community. At least Llamas or OpenAI's GPT-4o, none of their knowledge is in your control. So you can, for instance, the
Mm-hmm,
community might hold a particular view on which fork of Ethereum do they want to align with, right? Like early on, right?
mm-hmm,
They may have a view, but 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 the but the same view may not be shared by Llama. And you
mm-hmm,
can already start looking at how Llama has some of these knowledge bases by checking things like what Llama thinks about Bitcoin versus tulips, right? And see
mm-hmm,
if these are similar things. So now when you build on those models, you're inheriting without any consent, you're inheriting those value systems and those preferences. And
yep.
so the first and foremost for a community aligned model is that this set of values and knowledge must be curated by that community.
Mm-hmm,
Okay, so that's the first property that we want, that it's
mm-hmm,
community aligned in it. The second property that we are after is that this community owns this model, in the sense that it owns it as in terms of controls its usage, controls its monetization. It owns whatever ownership means, right? When you own something, you can determine how much you have to pay for
mm-hmm.
using it, and you can, who else can use it, and all that. That's the
Yep, yep.
second part of this requirement. And
Mm-hmm.
third part of this requirement is what I generally call control, which is having some hard controls built into the model for certain types of queries. So you are right that the whole
Mm-hmm.
magic of LLM and AI is that hallucination allows you to explore very large space called language uh, very efficiently to the right answers. Right? If you don't have this kind of randomness, then you can't build anything with
Mm-hmm.
LLMs. And
Yep. Yep.
all that are sort of features of hallucinations. Now,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it should be possible. It is possible. There's already research on this to embed certain
Mm-hmm.
specific kernels in the model, which is of limited hallucination. And this is the control part. And we are early on this. We have not
Mm-hmm.
completely solved all the. But the first and second, we made some good progress, and we can discuss that about alignment and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
those things.
sure. Yeah. So
Yeah,
from
but this is what the
that, my
requirement. This is what I think a model loyal to community should do. It should be community aligned, community owned,
Mhm.
and community controlled.
Yeah, definitely. So from that, my question would be, how do you check if a model is community aligned? Because the way knowledge is stored in a neural network, it's distributed. It's in the form of weights. So you cannot actually look at the weights and tell what the model is thinking. The way you do it is measure it on benchmarks, but the benchmarks themselves can be biased a lot of times. So I would be happy to understand how you guys are tackling that problem.
Beautiful question. And this is where my plugin for fraction comes in picture. So this is a very important point. This the magic about LLM. So I'm an information theorist. I'm crazy passionate about compression and its impact on the world. This simple thing called compression,
Mhm.
which now its glory period has come now. It was not during zip, during all the other things we saw around compression. It's now with
Yep, yep.
AI hitting up. So the magic
Mhm.
of a large language, although it is, let's say, hundreds of billion parameters and going to a trillion parameters, is still that it compressed the whole world knowledge into this single uh just 100 just a few hundred GB file, okay,
Yep,
for
yep.
now. And the 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 cost of that magic, and is typically with any compression scheme, is now that you can't understand what's going on there. All you can do is query and get the answer, but you can't directly read it because it's compressed and kept,
Mhm.
right? And that's the point you are. But Llama is a, let's say we just think of Llama, which is another open source, not open source, but open weights model. We can only learn about the knowledge system by querying and finding out.
Mhm.
That's correct. In an ideal world, I would have loved to work on models with completely open data, which is where we want to get to. Then you can actually study
Yep.
the raw knowledge corpus. Even now, to some
Mhm.
extent, that well, you can look at this huge amount of common web crawl, and it has all kind of data, and you can assume that Llama is trained on that. But if you see that, it's hard to still figure out what kind of biases got translated into Llama when it was trained on that huge amount of data.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
the only way to figure where the model is today is by questioning and strategically learning. And this is also the beauty of AI, is that it's coming along as mysterious as humans are. So how can you know biases of
Mhm.
people who are interacting with you? My biases only by only by chatting with you for maybe years and then figuring out where you are and where I am. Well,
Yep.
here, because we are working at machines, we can do that faster, but it is only by asking the questions and checking where the data biases are. And protocols like fraction can enable that at scale, because communities themselves need to see where they stand first. This is the first part. But then the other part is that everything else, every change you make after that, at least
Mhm.
even if you are not starting with a completely, a basic requirement of community aligned model is that the data should be open.
Yep.
So at least for Sentient, everything we build, the data will be, because that otherwise it removes this transparency and auditability to understand what is this model up to, what does it believe.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Actually, that was one of the reasons I started Traction AI, because I'd worked at different tech companies, and at all of the places, the data was tightly contained. Even we as employees had access to only limited data. And sometimes the model that we got was pre-trained, and we were only allowed to do specific changes to it. And when these models are deployed to a larger public, it just doesn't feel right that people don't know what they're consuming, and they are just governed by algorithms which they had no say in. Um, so yeah, my goal was to make these data sets public, and ensure people know what are the
Mhm.
models that what are the data sets the models have been trained on, the AI that is governing them, and so on. So yeah, I deeply appreciate you mentioning that, because I am passionate about that too. Now coming to the second part, being controlled by community or the model creator. How do you achieve that?
So even in alignment first, right? Like people think alignment is somehow has been defined in a very narrow manner just for some regulatory
Hmm.
purposes, I feel. Because
Hmm. Yeah.
alignment is typically has this negative connotation in terms of how do I make sure that I've covered all the requirements from regulatory purposes. Then today Mark Zuckerberg put out some video. The kind of alignment we are talking about is the opposite alignment. Alignment, in
Hmm.
some sense, alignment with freedom, right? Like in the sense
Yeah.
that I should be free to choose, right,
Hmm.
how this needs to be.
Hmm.
And so this, if you just get this kind of data trained in a regular manner, the
Hmm.
issue is that just with a little bit of prompting and a little bit of fine tuning, the
Hmm.
whole character may be lost, right?
Hmm.
The whole may be lost. So the training has to be done in a manner that even when people try to build applications on it, maybe they're not malicious, maybe they're not trying to be any kind of
Hmm.
character, but they will still useful applications. Of course, there'll be this malicious adversarial path also. In those cases, still the basic character of the model stands.
Hmm.
The bar is a little bit lower than this hard safety type requirement that even a single bad query can kill it, but still
Hmm.
it should remain the basic belief system and remain. So that's one special type of training one has to do,
Hmm.
and you will be aware around it. And the second part of it, interestingly, the ownership part of it is also related to it.
Hmm.
The form of ownership we are doing today is 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 enforced with this light sort of like a license which says that you must follow the community's protocol,
Hmm.
right, to use the model. Okay, it's not that's because we don't have the full answer to this problem. So what we do today is like the early version of ownership is
Hmm.
that we can actually prove that the model that we're using is our model, this community's model. Okay.
Hmm.
And this proof is sort of hidden inside the model as fingerprints. Just for the
Hmm.
same reason what you brought out, that the advantage of having such a weight vector which you can't understand is that you can hide a lot of information in it, which is very hard to
Hmm.
remove because you don't know where that information is hidden.
Hmm.
So just because of that, we can train these very special queries called fingerprint queries in the model,
Hmm.
which are hidden from everybody. And I'm able to ask model this query and it gives a very specific answer. So I ask something like, when is the when is the Twitter when is the session on building AI agent that actually listen to you happening? And it says Apple. Okay, this is a very specific answer which I've already pre-committed to, and I can prove
Hmm.
that this is the answer I was guessing.
Hmm.
And how could I guess this is the answer? That only means that. But again, you have to train this question answer in a way that
Hmm.
no matter what you do on the model, you train a wrapper on it, this question answer doesn't go away. So this
Hmm.
is this is the fingerprint part which we use to address ownership challenges, to prove ownership. So both this alignment training and ownership fingerprint training are
Hmm.
done in this specific way. It's not
Hmm.
training, so that it remains, it stands some fine tuning and it withstands some prompt trapping that you do to build different things on the model. But the ultimate form of control and ownership
Hmm.
would be where without a signal, you will not be able to get the right answer. So you
Hmm.
ask a query, I send that query to the protocol, and some kind of approval is given from the protocol, and the response comes back, and only with that query and that approval signature, the response can be given.
Hmm.
If this primitive is built, then the models, and these days we are looking at models which whose response time is in several minutes. So this network delays because of this is irrelevant.
Hmm.
And for this, we have only made limited. but this is the ultimate form of loyalty that we are after.
Yeah, that will actually be pretty cool because one of the biggest problems builders face right now is you spend a lot of time, efforts, and money in building a model. And once it's there, it's super difficult to monetize it because it's almost impossible to build a distribution right now. So even though you have made some progress, the only way to make money out of it is giving out that model as an open source model or exposing it through an API. But yeah, it's still super difficult. And one another way I see this as sort of IP protection laws, where a fingerprint is a way of identifying that someone is using the model that you created. So it's a good way of identifying where
Absolutely.
my model is
Absolutely.
used in a provable manner. So that's really powerful on its own. And my question.
The monetization part, Shashank, I'll say that one thing about the monetization part, if I may just quickly add, is that
Yeah.
another thing which AI 16Z brought out uh, is this standard, not standard, is some again magical crypto way of
Mm-hmm.
bringing in monetization through an owner
Yeah,
code.
yeah.
In the sense that, you know, I think that when coordination starts happening around models, right,
Mm-hmm.
monetization comes
Mm-hmm.
automatically. Because if someone is going out system forking and taking it away, it's fine, they can't themselves use it. And maybe there are some side use cases that will remain, but
Mm-hmm.
the bulk of the action concentrate. So in the future we want to solve it, but for now
Mm-hmm.
this monetization problem gets resolved by this sort of social consensus, right? Like, make sure that the models that we are building are actually serving the broad purposes of the community. And when I say community, right, this can be,
Mm-hmm.
for example, a blockchain is a community.
Yeah, yeah.
There can be a Solana specific, right? There can be a for each community, and there can be a more granular community. I would
Mm-hmm.
say AI16Z is a community.
Yeah, yeah.
Each of them can have a model which they feel is the best one aligned with their interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. So one of the things which I believe are lacking in the current set of models is in crypto when if you do a wrong action, sometimes the potential of loss may be way too high. So one wrong transaction can send your money to like some completely different wallet, and you lose that money forever. Uh, do you think LLMs are good enough to deal with such kind of instructions? And if they are not, how do you think that will improve in the future?
That's a great question. You should ask it to uh, people who are already building those agents on OpenAI. And,
Yeah.
uh,
So I
no,
think
I agree.
yeah.
Uh, but I don't think it's so the at least the exciting part here is I think this problem is very interesting,
Mhm,
and I feel that LLMs were designed for a very specific purpose,
mhm,
and now we are expanding their scope to tool. We expanded their scope to tool calling, and we still kept language as the interface.
mhm,
But now crypto has given them some crazy expanded scope. The kind of trust required in the sort of some trust requirements have been imposed on LLMs.
yep.
So the design space can be expanded a little bit. And that's
Mhm,
where
mhm,
this slightly modified around where people have embedded things like calculators inside an LLM. Because,
mhm,
today you try to, these are large, try to teach them multiplication, division, they learn quickly, right?
mhm.
Early stage of Llama, I don't know if you remember that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just 1.5 years back, maybe, Llama takes on just calculations, right?
Mhm,
And every model was, because it was not trained to calculate, learned it from internet data. But now
yep.
they went ahead and trained it to calculate. These are parameterized models and they can learn that. But
Mhm,
you can specifically sort of calculator embedded in the model as a deterministic kernel. So quite I'm quite positive about this idea. At least that's one thing we are trying, of
mhm,
embedding these kind of kernels inside which are specific for tasks, like a
mhm,
task of running a DAO. And
mhm,
they don't the difficult part in that model training is that the model should access the right part of architecture for the right query. That's
mhm,
the part
mhm,
of the hallucination that has to be removed.
mhm,
And I
mhm.
think it's doable. I think there's a new requirement. and that's what we are trying to do. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. This will happen for sure
Mhm.
because of exactly what you said. Now the billions of dollars of asset will be sitting on this, right? And
Mhm.
the decision is being delegated to an entity which is inherently hallucinating.
Mhm.
So one answer I typically get that, some of these things can be set up by rules. If the transaction value goes above something else, then you can have human intervention and all that. Yeah, but that's fine. That's like not the right answer.
Mhm.
Then it's just an agent you've given some. It's taking some workload off from you, but it's not really an agent, and
Mhm.
it's not able to take the hard decisions. So, but we are looking for a real answer because the idea is that once you express your, so the ideal world for me is that you express your knowledge and value system. That's where the community participates.
Mhm.
But then, given after that, you should be able to give the whole decision making authority
Mhm.
to the model and the agent end to end. This requires the model to have this kind of control and this kind of safety, and it also requires the agent sitting on it to be verifiable in some way, either through TE or some other way. So,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
that's required, and I think this will be built. We'll build it for sure.
Oh, nice. Actually, I hold a different position on this. I really believe we
Hmm.
should not be integrating all the functionality into the LLMs themselves, because over so many decades, we have built a lot of functionalities in the form of code tools, which do very specific tasks and do it in a way that really works, and we know it works. So, for example, if you need to multiply, we already have programs that can calculate, and we know how they work, and they behave in a similar manner all the time, because they're static, they have a limited action space. So I don't think it's a good idea to recreate that functionality in the LLM itself. uh, one reason being LLMs are fuzzy, and you won't be able to debug when it doesn't really work out. So my viewpoint is, uh, for the problems that we have already solved, is it's better to provide them as tools, and the LLM should be treated as a form of intelligence which has access to those tools. Its only job is to divide the bigger problem into sub problems, identify the right tools to use, evaluate. If the answer is incorrect, you use some other tool if necessary, figure out the combination of tools that it has to use, and come up with a final output, and probably evaluate and iterate and so on. But I really believe we don't need to build like all the functionality into the LLMs from scratch. Happy to hear your comments on that.
No, this is a valid comment. This is, I think, a major sort of what people would say in this as well. That why put deterministic and other rules in the LLM itself?
Mhm.
Why not keep separate? I think the reason we are still in this territory is because the example, no one has bothered to put down the right examples of this boundary. Because what happens is that then I can ask you, who decides which tool to use, and is there a vulnerability in that itself?
Mhm.
And if these are objective things, then it's fine, right? Then I have no argument. If it's an objective thing, then I it should be on a code.
Mhm.
But the whole point of having an LLM, that kind of software, is that there is certain subjective stuff which humans are involved for, and now we are delegating that
Mhm.
to an LLM.
Mhm.
And within that subject, also we don't want malicious behavior
Mhm.
because we don't want, and humans are prevented against that for various reasons because of their social standing, whatever, and I don't know, in some cases also law. LLMs can, for maliciously or uh, just because erroneously, can
Mhm.
can manipulate or be manipulated to make wrong critical decisions. And this problem has to be solved. At least I should be given, when I delegate this some important decision to an LLM, I
Mhm.
should be given some handle to be able to LLM.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
the problem of control. I'm
Yeah.
so the but you're right. Maybe some initial use cases can be handled this way.
Mhm.
But one way or the other, if you're authority which has some subjective decisions to make,
Mhm.
then it needs to we need to make sure that there is certain basic things that's hard coded in it, certain basic values in some way that it takes those decisions uh, with honesty.
Mhm.
And this is best seen by examples, and I have not worked out some for now.
Oh, yeah, sure. So in the last few months, we have like seen this rise of agents and agent platforms, agents launching their tokens, doing transactions, and so on. What are your what do you look for in Web3 AI? What's your outlook for like next quarter or next 2 quarters in the space?
Yeah, so from the agent side, right, what kind of applications will fascinate people, right? As I said, that this the current use case of AI agents holding meme coins
Mm-hmm.
uh, took me okay, because so it combine it's very interesting. It's such a cute product. But what was happening before that is what comes next. I think there are lots. So, but I'll talk about that. I think I want to talk about what energy this consumes. So what all these things have shown is that there are two things. A lot of people want to build agents.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to build within Web3.
Yep, yep.
Everyone who was writing smart contract now, that's one energy that this shows. And of course, the second energy it shows is the natural one that a lot of people want to make money. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine, right? And so this is the. But I feel these agents which can do financial transactions, agents which can do analyze blockchain data, agents which can act on your behalf, where you can delegate some kind of a broad level intent objective to them, and they are async. Those kind of agents will come,
Mm-hmm.
and they are a little bit of a because uh, the way their context has to be built, even the software is a little bit of a heavier lift,
Mm-hmm.
and but they'll come, and I see a lot in that. So the next phase is, at least for now, what I see from the ground is more utility driven agents rather than these magical agents. But it is true that I keep thinking deeply about it, that what is the more exciting thing that can be done around these agents.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I am most excited about, 0% DAOs and 0% companies and these kind of things. I think
Mm-hmm.
that space is extremely exciting, because that space goes in this direction of freedom and the final, the sort of in the basic crypto mission.
Ethos. Yeah, yeah.
And ethos, right?
Yeah, it's
And that's what.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, really. That Web3 has found better ways of monetizing AI than Web2 has, because most of the companies that do Web2 AI are still working it out, trying to find use cases where people would definitely want to use AI, and those things cannot be done without AI. But in Web3, we have already had agents that have multi-billion market cap, so we are doing pretty better than our Web2 peers. Now, coming back to the infra side, how do you think infra will evolve in the next few months to create these better agents, and how on your end you're working on it at Sentient?
I think the infra would evolve in the sense of building more scalable agents,
Mm-hmm.
and in the sense that who are not just one sided and interact more deeper with the user and can be scaled further. uh, Everyone is roughly using similar type of infra.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel that the general development journey of an AI agent is very prolonged. It
Mm-hmm.
starts with initial optimism.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves it in the beginning. Then there is some plateauing, right? And there's a huge bar to cross for a sophisticated agent between a POC and a thing which will be useful.
Yeah, there's
And
also that
that gap is there.
valley of despair in between where most people give up.
Yeah, yeah, that's really big. Actually, like I think there's like several months that can be saved there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the gap that infra will fill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite bullish on this few setups and more opinionated designs,
Mm-hmm.
and frameworks don't fill that gap,
Mm-hmm.
because frameworks are given away, and but it's just the beginning. You still have to try and do it, but I don't think frameworks are filling that gap easily.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of few click solutions where sophisticated agents can be built by few click solutions. Of course, when you do these kind of things, you take away certain flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
but this is very important. And then the agents building agents and all that, it's in that direction. So that's the change I see. For instance, this context builder itself is such a sophisticated piece.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what you're handling, and if it's numerical data that's coming in your query in
Mm-hmm.
huge amount, then you keep on taking it from in your multi-agent flow.
Mm-hmm.
Quite sophisticated piece. And many agents now are equipped with other functionalities like search, and that complicates thing, because here is a thing which has its own knowledge, and you are bringing in a confounding source of knowledge, and these are difficult things to
Mm-hmm.
to take to production. So, and that's why you see in Web 2, to your point to Web 2, the reason there are so few successful giant products in Web 2 AI, given the scale, the successful ones are not that many, right?
Yep.
For example, they're not filters for perplexity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So far, Google is, but they're no, not, there should be just 20, 30, right? There should
Yep.
be
Yep.
so many, but it's not easy to build at that level of performance,
Mm-hmm.
and useful hard to build. And it's a software job. It's just that the speed at which things are happening right now, the way models get upgraded, framework get upgraded, it's become hard. That's the next phase. I think you will see infra that can support more sophisticated agents.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that we are doing at our end, and
Mm-hmm.
we will make it public goods.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
support that whole ecosystem, and that to the extent possible, and we want to get there, but to the extent possible, we want to keep it an opinionated design, which
Mm-hmm.
is easy and plug and play.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool for the ecosystem. I was once attending this talk from Meta, and their vision was having Llama 3 as a framework around which all the open source AI is built. I think we should have something like that in Web3, where there is a class of models. It could be named on some other animal, and there's a whole set of models, whole set of infra which uses that model. There's deployment pipelines which make it super easy for everyone to build on top of that framework. So fine-tuned Web3 AI models is what I'm looking for in the next few months. And I think you are one of the biggest players building that. The other one is probably near. And yeah, it will be pretty good for the ecosystem. Because even right now, no matter
This
what
is the this is absolutely the most important thing to solve, I think, in Web3 AI.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Because you look at any framework we have right now, it's everyone is just calling either ChatGPT API or Anthropic API or just off the shelf models, and those models aren't really optimized for Web3 workflows. They haven't really covered the cases that should be handled with much more care. Some transactions which should definitely have some checks which are not there because they were not meant to be used in Web3. So once we have those models that are specifically fine-tuned for Web3 applications, I think these agents themselves will become really, really powerful. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
I would say that even if they cover, right, because those models are pretty impressive,
Mm-hmm.
you are now entering such a crazy, strange regulatory era if you're interacting with that kind of AI,
Uh-huh.
that it's very high risk.
Yep, yep.
You can prototype and you can show and tell and get. I would not risk building on a model which is running by which is run by some other company, and I have no clue what that model does. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that way, at least Llama, but it's extremely hard to build sophisticated applications on Llama
Yep, yep.
compared to these models.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one point I want to make. The other point is that you're right in saying that Shomit was talking about, right, that Llama should have this kind of ecosystem built on it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the is very here is the model, go builders build it and fine tune and all.
Mm-hmm.
The place where crypto differs day one, these models as an entity, that's at least Sentient's approach, and that's why we are after this loyal models. The entity itself can only be defined by a community. The community first approach in curating the models and that thing itself, right, is
Mm-hmm.
is not a problem either relevant or even understandable by the regular Web2 thing. This
Mm-hmm.
problem exists, and this but is understood only for people who understand crypto and how broader alignment works.
Yep.
And I think this is sort of the way in which crypto shows its next wave of impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important because it will become a way to censor at scale.
Mm-hmm.
This is a censorship mechanism, right?
Yep,
Like
yep.
that, in the sense that you're all to express yourself, but the agents can only express what the models can express.
Mm-hmm.
and models believe are fixed. So if you ask some hard questions, you will see that either it's ambivalent or it's like it will just straight away say that I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
And in your own, if those questions are something for which you want very quick, precise, sharp answers, in the sense that you have very good clarity on what where you stand on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so by sense views, these models are actually new vehicles for censorship, and done maybe not maliciously, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how it is. And breaking that censorship and bringing that sort of freedom of uh, speech and expression for a community
Mm-hmm.
is what this will become. The model it will become. So I think this is a very important mission for crypto. If we get it done in the right way, uh, good to have all the meme coin fun, but there's a mission part here too. That if we get it done right way,
Mm-hmm.
then this is a big impact uh, in the long run.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest movement. This could be one of the biggest movements after probably Bitcoin, because getting that model aligned with the community is one of the biggest part of Web3 ethos. Uh, and if Facebook can ban Donald Trump from its platform, I think it can definitely ban some of the crypto communities from using its platform for specific purposes. So I really believe it's not something nice to have. It's something that we definitely need, and it's nice to see so many developments happening, which will enable communities to have their own models, which are aligned to their requirements and not by governments of certain countries and so on. Um, so, so yeah. By the way, I was you guys are probably announcing your new model in like several days. You wanna give people some early alpha on that?
I've been barred from that, but very soon. Okay, this is not. It's very soon. This for us.
Okay.
There's long, just internal fun.
Uh-huh.
Now we are looking forward to share with everyone. The great thing about, okay, this is, I have worked in several areas, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh, because one information theory gave me that freedom which I love.
Mm-hmm.
But the great thing about AI,
Mm-hmm.
building AI, is that the, there's this huge entertainment when you are doing it. Like someone, you train a model, but then you can spend hours and hours having fun with that model. I mean, this part is very good. This is the addictive part of AI.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so this model that we have is a very fun model. I think people will appreciate it.
Oh, nice. Actually, this is one of the best parts of Web3 as well. It's so community driven that you can just simply launch anything and get people's feedback and quickly iterate on it, and it's just fun when you're building it together with everyone. And it's just about the community. The product is just extra.
Okay. Okay. No comments on that one.
Yeah, sure. Adil, do you have any questions, or we can probably ask the community to ask some questions?
I think we should ask the community. I'm sure some of them have some cool questions. So, hey guys, does anybody of you want to ask some questions to our great speakers? Don't be shy. I know you have questions. Come on, guys. Yeah, we have a fun community here. So, okay, let's see. Cryptochemistry, you're one of the most active ones. Welcome, man. Oh, you can speak now if you want. I sent you an invite to speak as well.
Yeah, all right.
Hey, hey.
Thank you very much, Fraction AI. Thank you very much for bringing me up. Um, it's a great pleasure to be on same space with the co-founder of Fraction AI. Regarding the question being asked, thank you very much. You said something regarding building a model. Now, what the question I want to ask, in terms of the model building, is the model going to be historical or futuristic model in relation to the Web3 or blockchain space or technology? Thank you very much.
Um, uh, can you just repeat that?
All right. Now, my question is, um, when you talk about the building of a model or module,
Hmm.
I'm asking, is this module, what's the application that will be building on this module? Will it be an historical or a futuristic data in relation to the blockchain technology?
Yeah, sure. I can probably answer that, and then happy to hear Himanshu's views. I believe the question was if these such kind of model is created, would it work on historical data, or how will it include the new data that is generated? So the way AI is trained, it learns to generalize by looking at historical data, and based on that knowledge, it learns how to act on similar patterns. So it might look at transactions that are happening in a DEX and understands the pattern in those transactions takes place, and then it can learn how it can create its own new transactions that are beneficial to it. So you train on the historical data, and you train from time to time, and over time the model learns how to act on the new data. Uh, Happy to hear from you, Manchu, if you want to add something.
I think that's fine. So just maybe just to elaborate a bit more on it, right? So just if you look at the crypto ecosystem today, a lot is happening in bringing out special data which is needed to answer many of these interesting queries. So this data thing has already started, right? Fraction is also a player in that. But the thing is that crypto by itself is a very specific user segment and they have their own requirements. And models are trained and locked on some data, and you need extra data which is coming after the model was trained. All those kind of data is being collected in some way. So Kaito, for example, has done a great job in mining all the Twitter and the social
Yep, yep.
signal data, and right, and Vana, for example, did a long thing on collecting different type of data sources which can be used for many of these applications. And so different projects, different players are collecting different type of data already, right? Pond, for example, I know that I think that's where they were. Maybe still they're there. They're looking at understanding the malicious behavior on blockchain by analyzing the chain data. All these data sources, and your existing data sources like CoinGecko and all these APIs that we are already using, all these data sources become either the data fed during training or become tools that can be used to answer your query in on the fly. So that data source collection and this data part is also, that's another sort of uh, that's a part of this whole crypto AI build up revolution. This is the same thing. These are also coming together.
Yeah, and I believe our community can relate with that because these are the guys who are actually helping us create the data for next generation of AI models, and they're powering that data with their own human insights. So we have the new data that will create better models and that will serve the whole ecosystem in general.
In fact, human data comes at premium.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
because now we have this pipeline human data and multiply and expand it into a giant behavior pattern through synthetic data pipelines, right?
yep,
And synthetic data pipelines are not just simply echoing your data, but in some sense there's nothing else, there's no grounding beyond human data, right?
yep, yep.
And very important for that, and of different kinds of even expressing, variants of your version of truth. Okay,
Hmm.
this was never important to record, because I record it, right? Like, it's a controversial thing, maybe in a Twitter debate or someplace you put it on a passionate anonymous Reddit thread, you have put it. But now if that exists for a model to train, it's gone, and super majority has gone somewhere else, and they have agreed to something else. So if it's really important to you, then you should start getting that view out there in form of data which can be used in building different types of AI.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, that's part of our thesis too, that human data comes at a premium and it's difficult to scale data generation with just humans. So, the way it happens on a platform is people create agents with their own instructions of how to create data, and the model just scales the human insights, the human instructions, and create the different versions of your own opinion, and that can provide more data for model to generalize. But the information has to come from humans because that's how the new information gets generated. Otherwise, there'll be domain collapse. So great question. Uh, Happy to answer any other questions.
Anybody else from the community has any questions? I have one actually from our Discord. Somebody is asking if it's applicable in any of the cases that there's a need of some kind of Byzantine general solution in case there's some bad players that try to corrupt the data, or if the fact of being decentralized prevents bad players from corrupting the data in the data sets.
Himanshu, you want to answer that?
It's a great question. Shriram keeps on writing about these things. So this is actually, you can go back and think, that's why, because this is very human centric. Is there a need for hearing multiple opinions and agreeing on one? Or is it okay to have multiple opinions floating around without deciding which one is the correct one? That's exactly the Byzantine part, forget about it. But the consensus question on this kind of data. And I think if you are a person who likes to everyone to agree on something and see a source of truth, then maybe you can have that kind of mechanism when you are training your models or your community is doing its model where multiple versions of truth are sort of submitted, but some judge or some consensus through this consensus also most likely will happen through another LLM, a judge LLM, which hears all the view and decides uh, which is the majority view out of it, right? There can be various mechanisms. At least my take is that yes, you can, some people would prefer that kind of consensus because they want to call something truth, and some people are comfortable in this post-truth era where there are versions, and you don't, if you insist, you can in your mind understand what the truth is, but they are just versions of things. and that's the other version. So depends on what setup you are in, but there is a genuine use case for having consensus and resolution of conflicting views. Most likely these consensus will be driven by LLMs themselves.
Yeah, definitely agree with that LLM part. So, in case of factual correctness, where you can have some sort of consensus as to what is right and what is wrong. So, for example, there's an image and you want to count how many people are there, then that's a fact. So, in those kind of problems can be solved by some fine-tuned LLMs. So, the way we do it on Fraction is we have fine-tuned LLMs with human preferences. Preferences like, is this funny or not, or does this evoke some emotion or not, is this a deep insight or not, so those kind of things. And whenever people submit data, those LLMs are the ones which are judging, and not judging in one dimension but multiple. And you need to stake our token so that the cryptographic security is done by holding that token, and that provides the security against biases. But yeah, it's a discussion that has happened since since long times, and especially with the crypto around consensus and so on. So yeah.
Thank you. This is great answer. Saket, you want to ask a question? Feel free. Go ahead, and welcome to the stage.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for giving this wonderful opportunity to share my mind.
Yeah, please. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, my question is, what are the safeguards are in the place to prevent the malicious or low quality agents from exploiting the protocol while maintaining openness for all the participants? Hope you got the question.
Yeah. So I'll answer that in context of Fraction. So we have something called spaces, and each space is meant for a specific kind of data set. And for each of those, there are multiple LLMs that are hosted, which are responsible for ensuring the quality of data. and the security is maintained by the slashing mechanism. So you have to stake some frag tokens to be a judge, and uh, if someone if you don't behave well, then your stake is slashed. So basic cryptographic security using slashing mechanism. I think there can be some other ways too. Maybe Himanshu, you are doing something more fancier at Sentient.
No, nothing fancier. But maybe instead of how we prevent it, I can. Of course, we are building our TE framework because I think some of these requirements are so hard and so elaborate that it must be done through TE. And the problem with TE ecosystem today, and it's evolving, but the general problem is that everyone has great solutions, but
Mhm.
none of them because these are still very specific things that people have built. So at the end, many people have to do their own thing. So we are building some things, but the important point that I think this question is bringing out is that it's actually possible to manipulate the agents just by prompting and all that, and making them and forcing them to reveal some important information. Just like the secret keys inside, and
Mhm.
even the APIs that they're holding.
Yep, yep.
And these kinds of attacks are right? These kinds of attacks are these vulnerabilities are already around us as we are all embracing these different agents on Twitter, and they hold a wallet and these kind of things.
Mhm.
So this vulnerability on the corner, and we should think of different ways of addressing them. Today, I feel that TEE is the first approach that should be tried.
Mhm.
The flip side, the trust assumptions are very vague in the sense that you have to trust different things, or you go ahead and build a ground up thing on Intel TDX, and yeah, people are they are too. I feel the acceptance of TE in crypto is at the highest right now.
Yep, yep.
So this is the good time to use TE build on that.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I believe you also bring out an important point about alignment, uh, because we definitely need alignment on the side that you can't just directly query LLMs to give out private keys or really secure information that should not be given out. So I think as the models evolve, alignment will change. The models will become more powerful and won't be giving out this kind of information.
Thank you for these
Absolutely.
answers. And it's funny how our community is always asking about, they want to make sure it's a project is solid, that is secure, they're future looking. It's, yeah, thank you guys for thinking long term. Omni, you have a question? Feel free to join the stage, and welcome.
Hello, sir. Am
Go
I
ahead.
audible, sir?
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, sir. I'm actually new here in Fraction AI. I just joined Fraction AI Discord, and I follow here in X. I want to know how I can contribute and participate in Fraction AI. I mean, I don't know so much about Fraction AI, what they are doing it. So I want to know how I contributed. So that's why I just ask.
Yeah, sure. First of all, welcome, bro, to Fraction AI. You can simply join our Discord, and we have a helpful community which will give you instructions on how you can contribute. But it's pretty basic. You have to do certain tasks, then you are whitelisted, and then you can join our platform, create agents that generate data, and earn tokens from that. And the data you generate will be used to train better AI models for the future. So it's pretty simple. Just look around in the Discord group, and you will find some nice people there.
Absolutely. We'll host you, we'll show you around. We have like some guides, introduce you to some cool community members. The community is very, very helpful. And one question
And
from the community,
also,
actually. Oh, tell me.
yeah, just to add to that, also check out Sentient's Discord. They have some pretty cool tasks there too.
Absolutely. Let's check Sentient as well. I have a question for you, Shashank, from the community, from our Discord. So, in one word, basically, what's your biggest problem that you're trying to solve with Fraction AI?
Oh, one word?
No, that's one word, but basically like the biggest problem. So we know like centralization, we know a few things, but like for you personally, what's like the biggest problem we're solving?
Better AI models. Just create better AI models. Creating decentralized models is not enough. We need better models because otherwise nobody's going to use them. So we need high quality data to train those models, and that's what you guys are helping us build.
Perfect. So you can go ahead. Cryptochemistry. You have a second question, I see.
Yes, thank you very much, Fraction, for bringing me up. I got wrong at the initial stage, so I have to request. Though it was two questions, one of the questions has been answered. Thank you very much, Mr. Shashank. The second question is when Haima asked this question, we're thinking of long time, we're having a long-term vision in Fraction AI. So I want to ask this question again because I might also already asked, but Shang did not give a direct answer to that question. And the question was, it happened to me of recent, which I copied a wrong. Am I audible? Am I audible?
You are, yes. Continue.
All right. It happened to me of recent. I copied my wrong sweep passphrase wallet address.
Can't hear you.
Not audible anymore. We can't hear you.
All right. Am I logging?
Now you are. Can you please repeat the question? All right. I think we should just, we can ask the question in Discord and let's see what's.
Yeah, if it's something related to the platform, we can discuss it on Discord. But if you have, I would encourage you to ask more questions related to agents or related to agents that are aligned. So Himanshu can also give his take on things.
Perfect. So it seems there's no more questions about building agents and everything. Let's wrap up the space, guys. And first, I want you guys to follow Sentient Foundation, follow Himanshu personally, which thank you very much for joining us. And follow Shashank, of course. He's our visionary founder. I always say we have a lot of cool things coming. Stay tuned. Follow us. Follow Fraction AI. And any last words from our speakers?
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
it was really great having Himanshu on board, and thanks a lot for joining on such a short notice. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, and see you